Welcome to the Deployed Podcast, where strategy, ideas, and capital come to life.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Deployed. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Kearse. I'm a real estate investor and co-founder of Ameripath USA. Over the last several years, I've helped investors deploy millions into affordable real estate that creates consistent, secure returns while helping families across the country achieve home ownership. I created Deployed because I realized everyone has capital, whether it be money, knowledge, and relationships, but few deploy it intentionally. This show is about the art and science of deployment and how high performers turn potential into power. Today, my guest is the lovely Pilar Newton. Pilar is a program director at EDM, but not only that, she is also a assistant professor at City College, and she teaches anime, which is awesome, and have these kids walk away with storytelling and anime designs. So Pilar, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, I teach animation, but I'm like, now anime, I love anime, like the Japanese animation. I wish I knew how to teach anime. Animation is great, you know? I mean, really, honestly, anime is Japanese for the word animation. So like, it all makes sense. I love it.
It all makes sense. So Laura, how do you usually introduce people into your world who don't know, like, what do you do? Like, how do you usually educate them on it?
Oh, I usually tell them, like, if I introduce myself to someone at a party or at an event or something, I'll usually just say, hi, I'm Pilar Newton. I'm an animator, educator, illustrator, and I have my own little company and I do animation. I have a combination of like a small boutique client base and independent animator doing short films. And I'm also an assistant professor at City College of New York. So I wear a lot of hats.
I love it. Now, what's one of the things that most people get wrong about you and what you do?
Oh man, I have a whole comic series that talks just about that. Like for instance, a lot of times I'll go with my husband to like a party and I'll say, and someone says, so what do you do? And I say to my husband, I'm like, when we go to a party, tell them graphic design, because if I go to a party or any event or anything, and someone says, oh, you're an animator, here come the questions. The one is, wow, your name's Pilar. Do you work for Pixar? Oh my God, get it? Ugh. And the other thing is, do you work for Disney? Because of course, like I'm an animator, so of course there's only one animation company like in the whole world. So of course I work for. I wish, but I don't. There's like more to animation than Disney. Of course, who doesn't want to work for Disney? But still, and the other thing is that like the biggest thing that people get wrong is someone will say, man, I have like this script. Could you animate it for me? And like everyone thinks that like, yeah, just hand me a script and I'll just magically animate it.
Right.
So like, one time this guy was like, oh, my cousin has a rap video. Like, could you animate my cousin's video? And listen, my budget, I could give you $50, and I'm like, oh my God. And the thing is, I can't get totally annoyed because there are people that literally just don't know, like they don't know any better. They don't know any different. And I was talking to somebody on Facebook about this the other day. It's like up to me to educate them, like it's up to me to say, oh, well, actually, it takes a really long time to do animation and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I'm guilty. I wasn't going to use the joke, oh, Pilar, do you work for Pixar? But I was going to ask, not if you work for Pixar, but what were your thoughts about them? Because the general public, to your point, that's what we know the most. And I apologize because I did make the mistake when you said animation. I automatically thought anime because I'm big on anime. But yes.
No, I love anime too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I love Pixar. Matter of fact, I'm fortunate enough to have, it was like getting Willy Wonka's like golden ticket, but they, a few years ago in like 2018, they invited a few teachers from around the country to spend the weekend with them, learning how to tell stories and learning storytelling the way Pixar learned storytelling. And I mean, I really felt like I won Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Like they flew like 16 teachers out there. I think it was 15, 16. They put us up. They fed us. We spent 3 days doing an intense storytelling workshop at Pixar. During that time, we were treated like employees. We got to eat in the commissary. Like their commissary is so amazing, by the way, because as an aside, I got like a bunch of food, put on my tray, coffee, walked up to the lady and I was with my card out. And she goes, oh, no, it doesn't cost anything. I was like, what are you talking about? She says, it's for, Really, like, it doesn't cost you. I was like, "I love it here." But, it was really amazing seeing Pixar from the inside, and I love I just love how, like, their process, it's like and their campus. I mean, they, like the rest of the animation industry, there's been, like, a lot of, like, struggles and, I don't know specifically a lot of the struggles. I just know there were a lot of people that were, like, laid off, etcetera, but I couldn't speak from, an educated point of view. I just know that they haven't escaped from the struggle as well.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, okay, I love Pixar.
Yeah. So I want to go back for a second before all the wins, right? Before, you being awesome in your career and being able to teach people. Who were you before this version of success showed up?
So I remember, okay, so are you talking about, like, say, like, in the very beginning, like, when I first got started my career, or just
Yeah, whatever
yeah.
you think is relevant. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I have, like, a TV background, and I was actually a prop designer and a storyboard revisionist on a show called Courage the Cowardly Dog for Cartoon Network. If you have nieces and nephews or kids, like, ask them, they probably heard of it. And it was really cool. Like, that was how I got my start, and then the following I worked on season 1, and I went on to work on Daria for MTV, which is, if you're not familiar with Daria, it's actually a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead
Hmm.
that they did in the late 90s to early aughts, as they call it. And then, I went on and do animation. This was back when there was, like, more studio stuff happening in New York City. I did a lot of, like, commercial work, character-based animation, in studios around New York City area. But somewhere around 2004, like, the work started kinda starting to dry up. And that's when I started to take on my own clients, and then I started, like, uh, taking on my own clients, and I started developing a love of teaching, which is interesting. So, it was really cool, like, working for myself for a while, So, from about 2007 to now, for my animation, I've for almost 20 years, I've been working for myself,
Wow, that's super cool.
animation-wise, yeah.
So was there a kind of like a early struggle that shaped you, or was there like a turning point that made you kind of go out by yourself, or was there like a big break?
I feel like the turning point was, when I would go in for interviews or have a phone call, they would say, "Your work is so great." Pause. "So do you know computer animation?" And that was always like that became more and more frequent because I was trained on paper. Everything I did was on paper, and film. So I realized that there was a turning point, a shift happening when in every interview they'd be like, "So do you know computer animation?" And I was like, "Uh." So I borrowed, like, actually, like, so my mom said, "Well, why don't you take a class and actually learn computer animation?" And, my mom, she's just so logical in that way. It just made sense. My mom helped me pay for it, but I took a class in Flash animation. Flash is what became Adobe Animate, but it's the same program. I took a class at the new school, learning like a 12-week class learning Adobe Animate or Flash. And I got I learned it from that class, even though the class was an emphasis on interact, like, Flash for websites. I took it and started learning, applying it to character animation, and I would talk to colleagues as much as I possibly can, like, while I was learning, and I just, like, soaked up everything. And then a year later, I got my first teaching. I got my first directing gig, directing a commercial for, Listerine, and so it was really cool, delving into that world, like, going from traditional to learning a skill to getting a job in that skill, and then I never really looked back. I eat, sleep, breathe Flash/Adobe Animate.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I have a similar situation, and I started off in IT project management, and everything was moving toward this methodology called agile, and I wanted to be in that world. And so I had a similar experience where they would ask me those methodologies and I had no experience in it. And I was trying to fake it till I made it. But it wasn't until I said, you know what, I need to really understand this methodology. And I had to read a couple of books on it, watch some YouTube videos, and that was enough to eventually get me into the door. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, to your point, your mom was just like, yeah, this is the times are changing. You gotta adapt and learn this new skill, right? Go from paper to digital. It seems like it really worked out for you.
I really did, and I'm having, like, a similar experience with my teaching, where everything is about like teaching my students how to animate. But with AI, I decided like I'm kind of changing up my concentration on teaching them how to animate, but also incorporating more like conceptual things in there because the one thing that AI can't take away from us, of course, it could be argued, but like AI generated animation, like you can't replace storytellers, you can't replace writers, you can't replace people that come up with stories based on your life and your own ideas. I refuse to believe that can be replaced. So I'm putting more of an emphasis on like conceptual thinking, like in terms of animation. So like, I'm sort of like in the midst of it right now. It's kind of like, wow.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Hey, I want to touch on, you mentioned storytelling. I meant to touch on this earlier too. Coming from a sales and marketing background and selling online and even real estate, Richard Brunson talked about in his masterclass, like he's like a master at selling online and selling in front of a stage. And he talked about storytelling and how to tell a story, like during webinars. And he talked about the hero's journey and especially how powerful that is when you are talking to someone that you want to help them improve, whether it be you selling them some type of coaching or some type of value improvement in what they're trying to accomplish. And he talks about how you have to tell the story and why that's so powerful. Because when you're watching a story or watching anime or you're listening to someone telling the story, the listener or the audience imagines them in that story. So it's important to take them along that ride. And
Yes.
here you talk about how Disney wanted to really teach you guys about the power of storytelling. It is so powerful. And I thought it was kind of cool that I got a little glimpse into understanding that and how that is and why that works in movies.
Yeah, storytelling. That's awesome. Storytelling is so important. Yeah, like even if like making like a completing a sale, like even just like I incorporate storytelling into my teaching. Like I'm not just like this is this and that is that, but I incorporate stories. Like I put stories of my own experience in there, and the class is just like every class is like a presentation story. I basically the timing worked out perfectly that in 2018, when I went to Pixar and took their storytelling workshop, I was about to begin my MFA, my Master of Fine Arts pursuit in visual narrative. So
Nice.
I was about to start at the School of Visual Arts. I literally landed from Emeryville, California, and that's Northern California, from Pixar, got off the plane and went straight into Manhattan and started my first day of my master's class. Like
Wow.
master's in visual narrative at the School of Visual Arts. And it's really amazing, like starting a new entire program on 1 hour sleep. But that's what I did. And it was amazing. It was a great program because people would ask me, like, why do you want to take that? Why do you want to take visual narrative and not get your master's in animation? And I'm like, why would I get my master's in something I already know how to do when I could take it on next level and take my animation and then use it to tell compelling stories, and so some people understand, some people don't. But I remember like a lot of times people give me a hard time, like, why would you? And I'm like, well, because it's great. Like I could tell a story, whether it be in animation or graphic design. I could even write a novel now if I want. Like it's really amazing, which I plan to do, by the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've built something incredible, but I know success is more than mindset mechanics, right? I wanna unpack how you think. What principles or beliefs guide you when you make certain decisions?
Oh, wow. Let me take like certain decisions. I just think that like I guess it depends on what it is, but it has to be something I believe in, I guess. Like I have to believe in it, right? So if somebody, let's say I have a potential client that's coming to me with a project, I have to like kind of believe in it. Like if I don't think I'm gonna enjoy working on it, I'm not gonna take it, even if I need the money. I used to take everything because I was used to be like, oh, I need the money, I'm gonna take everything. And I might talk about a lot. I'm not gonna say specifics, by the way, because I'm not trying to sue myself, get sued.
No, no
but
worries.
but they'll be like basically, and I know one of the questions you asked is one hard one lesson, and this was a hard one lesson where I took an illustration project because I really really needed the money, and I absolutely hated the story. I just hated the story. But I needed the money like so badly. But it was this illustrated story, and I really hated it. it was like the worst story. There were some things in there that was just really off and kind of creepy. And I was just
Oh
like,
man, I want to know what it is so bad now. You do it.
I,
You do a
I
good job.
know I can't. Maybe I could tell you like off the record, but it was just like it was a children's book, and I don't even like it's totally like erased from my resume, like it's nowhere. But then after that, I decided like I'm not going to just take something that just because I need the money now. Like it has to be something that I know I'm going to enjoy working on. It has to be something that I think is going to be good. I'll even turn down a project that's more money for another project that I really believe in,
Well, yeah.
like something that I know I'll be like proud of, But I actually don't take on that many projects anymore because I work on my own independent work. Like I'm at that, you know, at that milestone. Actually, that's another thing you asked me to talk about. I'm at that milestone
Got
where I could either pick or choose projects, or I could choose to not take on any projects and work on my own creative vision.
I like it.
Hope I
I like
answered your question, by the way.
No, no, you totally did. So, how would you say you approach risk and reward?
Oh wow. But give me an example. Wait. Restore.
So let's use the example when like investing, for example, right? You have an opportunity to invest, a couple $1,000s into a stock. And the stock is pretty new, but it's been, blowing up the charts. Everyone's kind of talked about it. People are cashing out, right? But there's some risk there, right? This is your last couple $1,000s, right? Like, how would you approach that? Like, what's your decision process? Like, how would you look at that?
I look at it as an investment. Hopefully this answers your question. And I actually do have some investment. Like I have in 2008, when the recession happened and things were just about as bad as they could possibly be. I remember thinking, and plus I didn't have a lot. I didn't have like literally like I had something like $50 in the bank. It was crazy. And I remember my friend lent me this book called the Susie Orman, like the young,
Young,
broke and
fearless,
fabulous.
fabulous. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and I was like, what is up with this? Because I am broke. And at the time I was relatively young. And I said to my friend, I was like, can I borrow this? He said, yeah, sure, borrow it. And it talked about you don't have to be rich to invest. You don't have to be rich to start savings. This blew my mind because I was thinking I had friends that were saying like I was saving up my allowance. I've been saving up my allowance ever since I was 8, and now I'm 30 and I have $40,000 in the bank. And I remember thinking to myself, a friend of mine said this to me, and I was like, so like it's too late for me then. I'll never have that ever. And then I read Susie Orman's book, and I get into my point in a second. I read her book and I was like, wow, it's not too late. It's not too late to like even invest and even start putting aside savings. And what I loved about her book is she was saying like you don't have to start a bank account where the minimum's $5,000 just to start a bank account. You could start a business account with $10. And not only did I do that, I started a business account under the name of my studio, Pilar Newton, but I started a Roth IRA, which is like an invest,
Nice.
You probably know this already, but like dividends, and you only needed like $50 to start. I was like really psyched to be able to have some kind of investing happening. And at the time I was able to start doing it. And the reason I started in 2008 of all years was because I'll say I don't ever want to be in a situation where things are so bad that like the bubble will burst or something and I'll have nothing. How could I make sure that I'm not ever in that situation,
Right.
And then I started like, every chance everywhere I went, and I started saving up money. The other thing that she said was also, you could just have literally like $5 to put over in, even $5. Do you know how much that'll add up in like 3 to 4 to 5 years? $5 seems like nothing. I spend $5 on something stupid every day.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so I've been doing that as well. So it's been really, really great. Now, in terms of just like, and the reward's been great because now almost 20 years later, I haven't touched any of it. And I think it's like really starting to look like, I mean, I'm nowhere near ready to retire. Even though I wish I could, because I want to just like retire from teaching and just do animation all the time. But can't at this moment. Plus I love my job. Oh, well. But, also in terms of risk and reward, about 3 years ago, I started renting an art studio.
Wow.
And I was like, this is kind of risky because, am I going to be like renting a studio, like literally like a little room? I was actually sharing it with two other people. So it wasn't, and my studio mates and I, like, it was like total, just like, they are so awesome. Mindy and Bill, if you're watching this, miss you guys. But it was a risk and reward because I was like, oh, should I be spending money to be in an art studio? And it just ended up being like just a game changer because the reward was great because I found myself being part of this amazing community and just being around all these amazing artists, like made me create more compelling. Like I was so inspired. It made me create like better and more compelling art, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
I hope I relate answers your question in any way,
You
shape, or
you
form.
you hit a home run. That was perfect. I love how you brought
Uh,
that in. Now we talk a lot about how people deploy their capital, and I love the examples that you gave and told us about your situation, but not just financially, right? But intellectually, relationally. So I'm curious how that looks for you. When you think of capital, what does that word mean to you?
well, okay. Well, when I think of the word capital, I'm thinking capital gains. I'm thinking like money, like how much money do you have? Like how much capital do you have, Pilar? I have this bank account. Like that's what I think. Sorry if I'm sounding completely. I don't know why I made that voice all of a sudden.
I loved it. I loved it. So
Am I somewhat right? No.
yeah, no, listen, that's what it means to you. I mean, when I think about capital, to your point, right, I tend to just think about, things that you could use to kind of like multiply, right? And savvy person with money. But yeah, absolutely. So, you talked about, Susan Orman's book, which is a great book. I love her. I love her voice in the financial space. You talked about how, she gave you the example of just, taking $5 a week. How do you decide where to deploy your capital, whether it be time, money, or attention? How do you decide where you're going to invest, whether it be your time?
Yeah. It's like timely for me. It's all about like enrichment. Even in 2008, when I said, oh, I want to like learn about how to invest money book, I even became really obsessed with like learning about how I knew I was years and years and years and decades away from owning a home, and I still am. I'm like constantly wanted to absorb and learn things. Like for instance, I wanted to read up on an adjustable mortgage.
Like an adjustable mortgage or adjustable rate of return, or like
Thank you. The
rate.
one where it adjusts every year, and is it better to put more down or less down, this and that. But for me, it was kind of more about like learning. Like I love like learning about things. So when I was taking the classes learning how to use Flash, which is now Adobe Animate, it was about learning that program and so I could like enrich myself so I could apply it towards my art. Here I am, a digital artist, used to kind of being in my own like cocoon, and it felt good like being like surrounded by other artists and then being held accountable because you'll be in the studio and you run into other artists and they're like, hey, Pilar, what are you working on? And because there's like several studios in this one building, it just felt like it was time to make that investment and go for it and get my master's. And it ended up working out great because it immediately led to these teaching opportunities because I have a love of teaching as well. So it's usually like when I want to like learn and further enrich myself. Hope that helps.
I love it. No, no, that's perfect, right? And so we're coming down to the final couple of minutes. I always like to end with perspective because the way we deploy capital says a lot about who we are and what we value, right? So how would you define wealth today? And has that changed over time?
Well, wealth used to be if you buy a house, if you own a house, that is like the epitome of wealth. Like once you have a house, like you don't need anything else. Like that's it. Like that's the epitome of everything. And that's actually changed because now for me, wealth is being able to do what you love, worrying about income. And I know that sounds weird. Like for instance, being able to like I would love to get to a point where I don't even need to worry about income, where I'm doing well enough where all I can do is like my own artistic vision. Right now I subsidize my work with I subsidize my own independent work by being an assistant professor and getting paid to do that. And then it subsidizes my, living, rent and food and everything, but it also subsidizes my own work. So for me, wealth is absolutely about being able to like enrich myself or continue to do my creative work without worrying about income, and even travel is part of that. Travel is like like just amazing. So now instead of it being like a house, my whole income, my whole outlook has changed in the last 20 years where it's about experiences as well, experiences and enrichment.
Money doesn't really change anything, right? He was like, I still have to shower and bathe like you do, right? I still have to wait in line
Mm.
for a coffee or anything. He was like, the only thing it really changes is my experiences, right? Like I can experience
Oh.
certain things that I probably couldn't experience if I didn't have the money. And when you really think about it from a philosophical standpoint, I think that's what life is really about, right? It's about experiences, right? And to your point, if you can have the room and the freedom to do what you love and not stress about making sure that, financial obligations are met, if that's not wealth, what is? So I love the way that you explain that. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. Like, wow, Warren Buffett is awesome.
And thank you for joining us on the podcast. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for those
Thanks for having
listening and
me.
watching, and we will see you next time. Till then,
Thank you so much for having me.
thanks, Pilar.
You've been watching the Deployed podcast, where we deploy insight, capital, and growth.